Football with friends. It's fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Tuesday night, November 5th, 2024. And it'll be remembered as the night that the college football playoff rankings were announced for the first time. And we're going to be here reacting to it, talking about it. It's something that Cody is prepared for a lot more than I have throughout the course of these first 8-9 games of the season. And doing his columns where he's had his power rankings every week and stuff like that. And so there's some things that I think we'll probably get into here that I'm still, so I was asking you, Cody, so let's start talking about it. We're not going to know here, two announcements right off the very top. The show is going to be done by like 7 or 6:40 or something, because we have to hop on the media, the NCAA media conference call where they're going to go over this stuff a little bit more.
No NCAA, CFP.
Thank God, right? The CFP committee conference call. So we're going to get on to that thing, and then the other bit of news. So we're not going to have a show tomorrow. So just to let you guys know, Cody was going to run it without me tomorrow, but he's had some stuff come up, so he won't be doing that. Cody will be back with our friend Anand, hopefully on Thursday. If not, maybe Jason or somebody will come on. Anand Nanduri will be on the show, co-hosting with Cody on Thursday, regular time. I'll be back for Final Takes Friday, hopefully with a couple coolers full of quartered deer.
Ooh, baby.
And then we'll have a regular Final Takes Friday. We'll be back on our regular schedule from there, with no breaks until like December, except for the actual day of Thanksgiving. So you hate it for tomorrow, but there'll be plenty of content on the channel, and so that's the deal there. So getting out early tonight for the conference call, and no show tomorrow. Other than that, things moving forward as planned. All right, so Cody, you think so? Here we have McElroy and Joey Galloway and Reese Davis and Booger McFarland about to relay this stuff. So whenever they give us this, are they going to give us this in the? I don't think they can give it to us in a bracket.
I'll be honest. There has yet to be an official announcement pertaining to exactly what this thing's about to look like when they release it. Mm-hmm. We were in the conference call last week, and they didn't say, "Oh yeah, we're going to give you 12." I guess to be honest with you, and Anwar brought it up today, I think on the podcast, maybe when you asked him, I think everybody just kind of forgot to ask that question. Like, are you guys going to give us a 12-team bracket, or are you guys just going to give us rankings? I do recall last year, because it was just placement and it wasn't conference champ, they worked their way down, remember? And then they did, 6-5. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4 or whatever it was? So it was 25 and then they showed you the 2 teams out and then the 4, because the conference champion really didn't matter in that term. So yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Because it's like, this is different this year because the 5 highest ranked conference champions, they receive automatic bids. The 4 highest ranked conference champions are seeded 1 through 4, and they receive first round buys. So okay, I'm confused about a couple things.
What's that?
Okay, so if you just look at like the AP poll right now, right? You're gonna have. Okay, well, I mean, it could be that you get. Well, no, you're not gonna. They're gonna be 2 Big Ten teams that would be in their top 4, right?
Yeah, which I don't think that they'll do. I don't know if they'll do this or not. This is the big interest, and I can't have too many tabs open because my computer's going to die if I do this. I'm going to go ahead and close all my tabs because
because we need you on the show because I don't because a lot.
I just lost a percentage point because I started opening up tabs. So I'm going to go ahead and close all my tabs, close everything out, but the show.
Dude, if your computer dies, you're going to need to hop on your phone and hop on this thing or something.
I'm gonna raw dog this thing. I'm good. So I'm going to be honest with you. We didn't ask that question. That's a fault on the media. We didn't ask that question last week when we had our college football media availability. So
if they give it to us in just 1 through 12, then we can go through and we can say what it would be, who would be the 4 seed or whatever, and then we can maybe construct what construct in our minds what it would look like to have the to have the actual bracket set up and where that would leave Texas just based on it. But my other question is this: let's say Boise State is ranked in this thing at like ranked at this thing at 11. Do they automatically get the 12, or at that point do they get the 11?
No. So the Boise State thing, and for any G5, whatever it is, whether it's Tulane or Colorado State or whatever, or Boise State, which is most likely, if Boise State is ranked higher, this is where the interesting thing comes in with the conference champions, is that the 4 Power Fours, right? So you got the ACC, the SEC, the Big 10, and the Big 12. Technically, those are the most likely the 4 champions, right, that are highest ranked. But if one of the G5 conference champions is ranked higher than the lowest Power 4 conference champion, so let's say you have SEC, all right, Georgia, hypothetical, Georgia wins the SEC, they're ranked number 1. Oregon wins the Big 10, they're ranked number 2. Miami wins out, they're ranked number 3. But let's see BYU loses. BYU drops. Colorado wins. Colorado wins the Big 12, and they're ranked like 14. And Boise State becomes a team that is ranked 8. But they will be the team that is ranked in the 4 spot. And Colorado, as the Big 12 champion, would not. All right, so the playoff, they just started releasing it. You want to read it off, or you want me to read it off?
25 is Army. 24 is Missouri.
Holy shnikes.
23 is Clemson.
They took a fall.
So Clemson goes from 19 to 23. Army goes from 18 to 25 as far as comparing it to the AP. And Missouri, was Missouri even in? Where's Missouri? They fell out. I thought that they might have fallen out of the AP this week.
Missouri has fallen the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So they've fallen out of the AP. They're 24. At 22, they had just announced is Louisville, who is 25 nice. in the AP.
I like that. I had Louisville 22.
And 21st is Washington State, who is 20th in the AP. Cody, I was real interested to see what they were going to do with Army. I mean, what are you going to do with Army? It's like that's super weird. I don't think that they're going to be a factor down the stretch in this anyway. At least who knows? Colorado checks in at number 20. They're currently 21st in the most recent AP. They moved up 2 last week.
I like this first 6 spots here. So in my power ratings, I had Army 27. So I felt the same way as you. Missouri, though, has completely fallen out of my top 30. We've talked about this team all year, right? They're the what'd you call them, the paper tiger?
I've said it since the beginning. I said it since the first game I saw them play.
It's bad.
Has Luther Burden fallen for you?
No. He's still shown what he's shown. We already know what he is. I mean, it would have to be. I don't. What's his stats so far?
I mean, he's had some games where but some of his games he's disappeared, Cody.
Yeah. Is 450 really his number? There's no way 450 is his number. 450 is his number at 8 games. Not good. All right. So rankings are back out. 19.
Kansas State, they're up from number 22 in the AP poll. Pitt is up from 23 to number 18 in the CFP playoff rankings. They're up from 23 to number 18. Iowa State checks in at number 17. That's their same ranking as the AP poll. Same thing with Ole Miss, checking in at number 16.
I feel like that's a little low for Ole Miss.
I thought the CF. So do you know what? I think this might be. I thought there might be a little bit of SEC bias in this thing. Some pro SEC bias. Maybe that's just my pro SEC bias coming out. I figured that the CFP would. I mean, Ole Miss. How much have they lost their 2 combined losses by? I'll look it up. I'm not going to make you pull up any more tabs. We can't have you falling off this show.
No,
but, I mean, and then LSU checks in at 15.
So That's interesting. I technically have Ole Miss and LSU back to back in my power ratings, but I have them ahead of teams that are yet to be named. Boise State, Vandy. I don't know if Vandy's going to even be in this thing, but they haven't been named yet. SMU, BYU. I had LSU and Ole Miss ahead of those teams, in the same area, and we still got 14 teams to go. I have a pretty good feel of the 11 of those 14, but I still think there's a couple interesting names that haven't been listed off here yet.
So when they're giving us the CFP rankings here, it looks like they are doing a projected bracket. So what they're doing is they're taking the rankings and then they're taking the rankings and they're putting them into where it would be as a projected bracket if things were to fall in line with the rules, with the four highest ranked conference champions getting their first round buys. So we're not gonna have to go through that exercise.
Can you see them pop up?
What? No, they haven't popped them up yet.
Okay, well, 14, I got A&M popping up.
Oh, 14. Sorry. Yep. A&M is at 14. And then the first team out, SMU, at 13. I'll be interested to see if that holds because, to my eyes, SMU so far has kind of looked like a playoff team to me. SMU is ranked 13th in the AP. So, Texas A&M is ranked 15th. Cody, do they know? Does it seem like they? I'm not sure. So we're only going to get one. We're only going to get 4 SEC teams projected in the top 12. Is that more or less than
you think are we going to get Boise here? Or not Boise, sorry. Are we going to get Boise?
12? Boise's 12.
Okay, Alabama's 11.
Alabama is at 11, so that's it. That's where they are. This Boise at 12 and Alabama at 11 is the same as the AP from Sunday night, so no difference there. Any guesses at number 10?
I'm trying to think about these couple teams here. We haven't seen South Carolina, and I know they're probably not going to be in here. But listen, these are just teams that I have up here in this conversation in my brain. So in my power ratings, these are my top 20 teams that have yet to be named. South Carolina, I had at 20. Vandy, I had at 18. BYU.
They'll get named.
Yeah, I think BYU will get named.
There's no way Vandy or South Carolina are going to be ahead of Alabama and LSU and A&M and stuff.
Okay.
Notre Dame at 10. That's the same as the AP. So far,
I feel like we're a team off here. Like there's a we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We get 9 more teams. All right, so BYU's got to come off here next. They can't move BYU up that high. BYU, Indiana has to be in one of these next two.
They'll certainly be. Yeah. So BYU is so BYU is the 4 seed.
Yep.
Even though they're ranked 9th. So BYU is the 4 seed. BYU will get to play the winner of is the 5 or the 12 seed the one that plays the 4 seed. So the 5 seed's going to end up the 5 seed right now, if the season were to end right now, would play Boise State and would go on to the quarterfinals to travel to Provo. Is that Provo?
Yep.
To play BYU. So if it ended right now, so BYU ahead of, I mean, they're way ahead of Iowa State in the AP poll anyway. Of course, they're 8-0 versus Iowa State. Iowa State's 7-1.
So
yep.
So this is going to be interesting how this looks now because it's going to look goofy because Indiana's got the 9 seed, but they're the 8th ranked team.
Yep. So Indiana's rated 8th, but they're exactly what Cody just said, 9th seed, but number 8 in the rankings.
I think that's a good spot.
I just don't. I mean, what is their signature win? Nebraska, and
Indiana,
Washington.
Indiana has beaten everybody by like 4 touchdowns minimum.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they really have a signature win. Like, yeah, Washington's on the list. But Michigan State this last week when they beat Michigan State in Lansing was the biggest bump they've received this point this year in any ranking. So but this is the thing to me is Indiana being ranked 8 here tells me Tennessee is going to be ahead of them.
Oh yeah, of
Right
course.
there at 7.
Tennessee, so 8 and 7. So we'll be projected right now that Tennessee
But
would play Indiana.
what you said, of course, but I think the thing here is that Tennessee has a loss. Indiana's undefeated. And this was one of my questions that I posed in my column was, where's Indiana going to be? Can they make them 6? Will they make them 7? Will they make them 8? How will they respect? Because they told us in the previous meeting that they will not rank the teams based on record. They will rank the teams based on what they see on tape, strength of schedule, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just going to be record based. So, which is sometimes what you see from the AP, but in the Indiana term, it's not really being utilized that way this year because if Michigan was undefeated, they'd be top 3, right? So I just wanted to see how Indiana would fill out here, and they come in at 8 instead of a 7 or a 6, which I thought was something.
Dude, this is such a big deal. Who goes 6 and who goes 5? Because what 6 is going to have to play out would have to play like the Alabama, right? So Penn State or Texas.
6 plays Notre Dame, 7 plays Alabama. So 7. Wait,
no 6. Okay, right. So 6 plays. What? Hold on. 6 is Penn State. So Penn State. So, all right. So Texas is going to be 5th in this thing. They're going to, if this happens for Texas, what it's going to be is it's going to be, oh, wait, 5 plays 11. So Texas would play Alabama.
Again, we're one off here because
because BYU's already off the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're ranked 5th.
So Texas is ranked 5th.
Yep.
But they would have to be the 6th seed. What a swindle. How much better would it be to get to play Boise? And then if you win that, not go to Provo, as somebody pointed out in the chat, because the divisional round is neutral site. Only the first round is at home. So it's going to be Penn State and then what? So I'd imagine who's left to be the final?
Ohio State.
At what?
Boise.
Oh, because BYU is already. So does BYU?
Yes. BYU is gone. So Ohio State's going to be ranked 4th here, I'm assuming. Or maybe Miami is. There you go. There's Miami. So there's your conference champion from the ACC. Miami is the 4th ranked, but they're going to be the 3 seed. And so that tells us that they're going to give a lot of respect, obviously, to Ohio State after the big win against Penn State in Penn State this past week.
And so Ohio State's the one that's going to get to play Boise at first and then go on to BYU if it were to end today. So I think, pretty clear how this thing's going to go with the final 3, right? We're about to see Ohio State, Georgia, Oregon peel off.
You think Oregon's going to be number 1? That's a big one to me. Is I'm interested to see what they do with Georgia and Oregon, because record obviously leans towards Oregon, but I guess probably tape does too. I think it's close.
I just think that what the CFP says is they're like, well, they're major conference undefeated.
Georgia's 3.
Oh, dude. So there's like some kind of okay. Wait, the SEC conference champ is behind the 2nd place Big Ten team?
Yep. That's a statement. I mean, they played that for one. That was a 1 point game.
Do you know what and so all right, so then okay, so it's BYU, Oregon, Miami, and Georgia that they have projected if the season were to end right now, who would be getting the first round buys. Cody, to me, it makes me think just are you going to be able to ask questions in this CFP thing?
Yes.
Can you ask, like, what does it say? You want to ask, what does it say about the SEC that you guys have 2 big? Do they not? I'll ask you. do they not? To me, it speaks to the larger point of I'm having a hard time putting this thought together.
Why?
So just bear with me. Is it going to be something to where if they believe that the SEC play and this infighting in the SEC, right, this week to week stuff where teams can just lose to other teams, right, and it feels like there's a lot of parity. Is that if that's the notion with them to start the CFP that look, we might not think that any of these teams are really that good.
Well, so it's interesting because if you go to the books, and we talked about this as soon as that Oregon Ohio State game went final, Oregon beat them by a point, right? All the sports books still lean Ohio State head up.
What?
They would favor Ohio State on a neutral field, even though Oregon beat them. That's facts.
Look at this. This might be y'all's worst show.
Well, you're here, and the views are higher than they've ever been in the first 20 minutes. So you're wrong, Max. We appreciate you though.
We gotta thanks for being here, dude. It's like we can't talk about snap counts and stuff every
It just so happens
opportunities for explosive play. But yeah, dude, we're creeping up towards 700 concurrent viewers right now.
We're on bye week, and they have college football playoffs instead of the deep dig. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Content on a night where there's nothing in the world going on when you're talking about college football playoffs. We appreciate y'all. You click that like button, Rex. We do love you.
Oh, man. I'm so glad we don't take ourselves too seriously, man. We'd really be bad around here. Okay. But do you think that that's true? But do you think that there's going to be? I don't know. It feels like if they keep playing these games, I feel like these SEC games are dogfights, man. I'm not sure. I think it's right that they would have. I mean, why is Ohio State ahead of Georgia?
Well, I do think that's interesting. So my three highest rated teams on my power ratings is Georgia, Oregon, Ohio State. Georgia and Oregon I have is the same exact rating, 0.985. Ohio State's a touch behind them at 0.969. So I at least have like the same three. I definitely have it tied more Georgia, Oregon rather than Oregon, Ohio State, though, which it seems like that's kind of how they're pushing this to us, is that Oregon and Ohio State are equals, essentially, rather than Ohio State and Georgia are equals. Because I feel like if that was that, they would lean Georgia. But I guess Georgia has the worst loss, if you want to look at it that way, which is definitely a way to, and they're going to say that. I know they're going to say that in 20 minutes when we hop on that call, is that Ohio State's loss is better than Georgia's loss. So what are you doing? You trying to turn the volume up or something?
No, I'm trying to get it back to where I can see the freeze frame of the projected bracket. Sorry. Hold on. Of the actual, yeah.
I tried to take a screenshot of it on my phone, and then it just gave me a black screen. So,
okay. So here we go. So if this, I think Texas would be drawing the literal stone cold nut low if they stay at 6. They can't and these other teams would move around. But to say that they would have to face Alabama at first, now they would get them at home, but then you got to get through Alabama and then go play Miami. There's such a world of difference between 6 and 5. 6 and 5, you get to play the 12 seed. You get to play basically the group of 5, and then you're going to go on to play the Big 12. So what's the pathway to Texas getting to a 5 seed?
Let's see here.
Okay, cool. So you got it. I don't have to keep pausing on this weird part. What's the pathway for Texas getting to a 5? I mean, I guess the pathway for them just getting to a first, we know what it would be for them to get to the, I mean, win the SEC championship. You get a first round bye.
in totality, it's going to take a lot. You have to win the conference to get the 5, because Oregon, and I don't know, because right now the way it looks, Indiana gets Ohio State in a couple weeks. We expect Ohio State to win that game. So that's going to keep Ohio State up there. Ohio State, unless they bump to Indiana or Michigan, is going to win out. Go to the Big Ten championship, 1 versus 2, Oregon versus Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. And if the result differs, if it flips and say Ohio State wins that game by 3, do they move Oregon down 1 spot so that it's kind of like this? And again, they say they're not going to do anything to evade a third matchup. That's what they told us last week.
What does that mean? Explain that.
They said we're not going to manually mess with the bracket to evade a third matchup. So hypothetically, like I'm saying, if Oregon goes and plays Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, Oregon already beat them by a point in Eugene. If Ohio State beats them by a field goal in Indianapolis and they bump Ohio State to 1 and Oregon just down to 2, that does the inverse, right? It puts Oregon as the 1 seed here, and it puts Ohio State is the 1 seed here, and Oregon is the 5 seed. They're on the same side of the bracket. So that means if Oregon beats Boise State, Oregon beats BYU, and Ohio State beats the winner of the Indiana-Tennessee game, they're going to rematch in the semifinals, which is earlier than the national championship. They would not alter this thing to give Ohio State or Oregon, hypothetically, or the loser of the game, hypothetically, a ranking on the opposite side of the bracket, if that makes sense. They wouldn't drop them to like 6 so that they don't face off until the championship for a third matchup. They wouldn't alter anything. And so what I'm saying is if neither of these teams get bumped until the Big Ten championship, we could potentially see the same exact looking bracket with the Big Ten loser being a spot ahead of Texas.
But are you kidding? What?
No, I'm dead serious, because this is exactly what they're telling you. They're telling you that they like both these teams exponentially better than everybody else.
Well, they not necessarily exponentially, but they definitely do like them better than anybody else. They put them as the first one out, who's not a conference champ, right? And they put they've put the conference they've put the Big Ten conference champ as number 1, and then the first team out, who's not in the top 4, is the Big Ten team. Yep. That's a 1-loss team, and that team is ahead of the 1-loss team that's in the SEC. That's only loss is to the number 2 seed, who's the projected SEC champ in this simulation. So that shows that the CFP doesn't respect the SEC as much as it respects the Big Ten this year, or it doesn't respect the 2 teams at the top the most.
Well, Oregon is 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 6, Indiana 8. That's 4 teams in the top 8. Georgia, Texas, Tennessee, 3 teams in the top 8. Bama's the next one at 11. So it's technically stronger. I mean, Indiana's holding that ground right now, but if Indiana loses to Ohio State, they're probably going to fall, and it's going to be 3 each heading into, because Penn State's not going to lose again. Penn State and Tennessee are kind of in the nut spot.
Yeah, but here, so what Christopher Summers is saying is Texas is number 5 in the playoff ranks, and I get it, Christopher. Like, I was thinking about this before too. I'm like, oh, they're number 5. That means they're going to get that 5 seed, but that's not going to be the case, because we're going to always be one off, because the Big 12 champ is going to get into that 4 seed right there. And so even if they're ranked at like 8 or whatever BYU was ranked earlier, they're going to leap ahead of Texas even though Texas is ranked as 5th, they're going to be the 6th seed, because everybody who is in front of BYU and or Iowa State or whoever, whatever Utah, whatever it turns out to be, right? Mm-hmm. Who knows? Like, I don't know how the Big 12 is going to turn out. I don't have any feel for it, but those teams are going to get bumped down 1. I think the only way that I think the only way that Texas can end up in that 5 seed, and you tell me if this can work, Cody. If Texas is there still a world that exists where Texas doesn't beat Texas A&M and still gets left out of the SEC championship game?
Texas loses to A&M?
Wins.
No. If
So
they
Texas,
unless they lose one of these next three games, if they beat A&M, they're in the conference championship.
so is Texas guaranteed to make it into the playoffs with 2 losses? Are we sure of that at this point?
It depends who the second loss is against.
Let's say it's to A&M.
So I think that makes it gross, because if your second loss is in the conference championship, you're locked. If your second loss is to A&M and you get boxed out of the conference championship, then you're banking on likely A&M going to the conference championship. A&M's not even on this board right now. A&M getting a shot at Georgia potentially. Tennessee has, I think, a pretty favorable rest of season. I don't want to pull up my old.
Who is it? I can look it up if you want to pull it up.
No, I pull. I was thinking about what I wanted to pull up. I wanted to pull up my old column from last.
How's that? How's that computer battery power doing?
We're up to 9, so we're doing good.
Oh gosh,
we're going north. We're going north. We're moving up in the world. Yeah. So my predictions from last week. So Tennessee had Kentucky this last week. They got Mississippi State this week. They got to go to Georgia. Okay, so Tennessee has Georgia still. So if Tennessee loses to Georgia, that keeps the door open for us. And then they get UTEP and Vandy. So you need Georgia to beat Tennessee. And then you need LSU to lose to Bama this weekend. Ole Miss is still a dark horse out here at 16. And the thing is you got these guys just loaded up at. So you got Bama who's in at 11, but then at 14 A&M, 15 LSU, 16 Ole Miss, just waiting in the cut. And they're all boxing each other. Bama plays LSU this weekend. Georgia plays Ole Miss this weekend. Next weekend, it's Tennessee, Georgia. The following weekend, it's Ole Miss doesn't play. They play Florida, which isn't really a deterrent here. Missouri is technically ranked. Nothing really in week 13. And then week 14, you get Texas A&M. So,
are you sure there's because Jerry Targaryen Steamboat's asking in the are we sure that LSU and Georgia went out that Texas won't be potentially left out because some of the cockamamie 22 pages of tiebreakers? Because it's conference record, common opponents or something.
I'm pretty sure not. I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's so many tiebreakers. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's so many tiebreakers that it gets moved down there once they're tied like that. You could be right, Jerry.
And if that's the case, I mean, here's the thing: Chad will know tomorrow. Chad will have this all broken down by.
How about we just cheer for Alabama this weekend?
Yeah, you could do that.
And just do because that kind of boxes LSU out. You cheer for Georgia to beat Ole Miss. That boxes Ole Miss out. Which you need to eliminate those teams that are just sitting in the cut. And in the SEC, you need to eliminate the Ole Miss and LSU this weekend, and then you have A&M, and you can eliminate them yourself.
Yeah,
and so there's that. And also, I'm gonna be honest with you, Alex, the team I feel best about in this whole thing right now, given their current schedule and their likely inability to get to the conference championship, is Bama. Bama has LSU this weekend. If they can go to Death Valley at night and win, which is obviously a task in itself, they have Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn. And they're sitting at 11. And they're probably not going to be in the conference championship.
Yeah. Yeah. But would they stay? I guess they got to win. They wouldn't fall for winning.
No, they have 2 losses in the SEC. Right on the cusp. They have 2 losses in the SEC, so they're going to get boxed out of the championship, the conference championship, but they're ranked 11th. So if you win out, if you beat LSU, which is a good win, so they're probably going to jump a spot. They might jump BYU. They might jump Indiana by the end of this thing. They're likely going to jump both of those teams. They lost to Tennessee, so Tennessee's ranked 7. So Bama could get up to 8 if they beat LSU this weekend. Then I said they got Mercer, Oklahoma, Auburn. That's it. That's all. And Alabama's pretty much locked in the top 10.
All right. Well, we got to get out of here. We got to get out of here a little bit early tonight because Rex St. Charles hates the show so much. So, Cody, any final thoughts? Texas, what do you think? I think it's a little bit disappointing that there is. I think it's a little bit disappointing that it looks like there's going to be some initial Big Ten bias here. And I think if there's continued parity in the SEC, it's not going to help with the way that the CFP views these teams. And I just worry about if Alabama right now is just swindling in there at number 11, right in front of the Group of 5 team, that it could be sort of a, in the election terms that we're about to, after we get off the conference call, we get to hear like just a little bit of a bellwether here that it could be something that is very it could be a sweat for a team that could very well be in Texas's almost exact same shoes come to the end of the season. So that's kind of my final takeaway here. I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
A couple things. One, I think in line with what you just said, I think Penn State being ranked 6 tells you how they feel about Penn State. They just took that loss at home. It was a winnable game. James Franklin peed down his leg, and they still rank them 6. That tells you that they love that team. They rank them ahead of a Tennessee team with what? Tennessee got 1 loss, right?
Yes.
Tennessee's got 1 loss. Indiana's undefeated. BYU's undefeated. The only loss for Tennessee, of course, comes to Arkansas. But it tells you what they really think of Penn State. It feels like there's a tier break right there between Penn State and potentially everybody else, Tennessee, Indiana, et cetera. Past that, I really took that Penn State ranking for a very interesting thing. Alabama, I think, is in maybe the best spot out of anybody in this entire bracket. Georgia has some competitive games coming up. We
I think Texas is in a good spot, man.
I'll get there. Old Miss, though. They're playing. They got to go to Old Miss. Old Miss is in an elimination game. You lose, you're done. Alabama's playing LSU. LSU's an elimination game. You lose, you're done. You get through this weekend for Bama, you're set. Indiana, they're in a very volatile spot. They still got Ohio State left in the bend. Texas, I do think is in a safe spot. They're ranked high enough at 5 that I think that they could run this thing to A&M, and you potentially get a slip up from somebody. You get bumped up into that top 4. And if you get into that top 4, I think from here on out, if you get ranked in the top 4 from here on out, or get up to that in that area, you know what I mean? I think that tells you enough that you're probably going to be in the playoff. Does that make sense? Like if let's say Miami slips, or Ohio State loses to Indiana or something, right? Or Georgia, let's say Georgia loses to Ole Miss, something like this, right? And Texas gets up into that top 4. I would feel pretty good about Texas making the college football playoff as a lock. Like, I know that their percentages right now are like north of 80, probably 81% or so to make the playoff. I would just, if that makes sense. And then last thing, I think you just got to watch a couple of these teams that are on the outside looking in. At the SMU team is very interesting. Ranking Clemson where they did pretty much tells you Clemson's a no-go. And then what was the other one? No South Carolina, no Vandy in the top 25. I was very, very, very interested to see what they would do with a Vandy and with a South Carolina that has very good wins.
They don't think these SEC wins are that good, man. It's just it's wild to me. It's just wild.
But they like Missouri. And when they tell us what they see means a little bit more than what the record says, and then they go ahead and they rank Missouri at what, 20? What the hell were they? 23? And then they don't rank South
24.
Carolina, whatever they were, 23, 24, whatever it was. And then they don't rank South Carolina or Vandy. I think that's interesting.
Oh, it's just, they have better. Vandy's got 3 losses and Missouri's got 2.
I don't care. This is what I'm telling you.
They told
us. Yeah. They told us one thing, and I know this is not top 12. This is just way down there, and these guys are probably not going to have a chance to make the playoff. But I just think it's interesting how they're viewing the team, and they put Missouri up there, but not South Carolina or Vandy in the top 25, period. That's just my kind of closing thoughts on the whole thing. Big night, record night, first time ever. We got a college football 12-team playoff I appreciate all y'all for hanging out and tuning in with us.
Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can follow Cody on X at Cody Carpentier. You can find me at Alex Dunlap NFL. Just a busy night tonight, going through, just trying to, as you're going around and doing your stuff, man. We just wanted to be able to keep you up to date with what was happening. So we didn't get to shout out Texas Beef Traders or Poncho Outdoors or Specs or any of that. But, man, we love those guys. We can't tell them how much we thank them for being great sponsors of the show. No show tomorrow, but we're here every single night. Otherwise, it's just tomorrow got a little bit whack. So no show tomorrow. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Cody will be back with Anand. I will be back on Friday. And then from there, you're not going to miss us for a single day except for Thanksgiving for like the next 2 months. We promise. So we love you guys, man. We couldn't do without you. Giant show tonight. Almost 800 people watching live concurrently between X and YouTube. If you could please remember to like the show, subscribe to the channel. Love you guys. Thank you. God bless you. All right. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.